All right, guys. Well, I'm really excited for this training webinar today. So thank you guys all for getting on today. I know in 2016 we've had a little bit of change here in moving our webinars to Tuesday afternoon. But I'm really excited that it feels like a new opportunity to share more training content and just have presenters come more prepared and sharing real tangible things that you can do to apply in your business right away. And so I'm really excited about this new format, and I hope that you guys are willing to adjust and kind of work with us here. So every other week, this time, same place, it will just be here. So today we have a special guest speaker who's going to be on. I reached out to Robyn Whitworth and asked her if she would be interested in leading this call today. Robyn Whitworth, I guess I should have looked at when she signed up. Maybe she can comment below and tell me her sign up date because I don't have that memorized. But Robyn is one of my personally sponsored Star Diamond coaches. She's coming in on her 2-year anniversary in March. So she signed up March 2014. But one of the things I want you guys to know, and I always kind of give her a little bit of a hard time about this, but when I signed up as a coach in April of 2012, Robyn is one of the first people that I thought of when I was thinking of my business and who I wanted on my team. I knew Robyn from church, and she lived just down the street from me. We went to church together, and I knew that she had done P90X, and I knew that she loved health and fitness, and she already had a blog where she would share healthy recipes and kind of share her opinions and her story. And I just remember thinking, this is totally the kind of person that I want on my team. She's a go-getter. She's, strong in her faith, strong in her opinions, and just a strong leader. And so I remember thinking, I want Robyn on my team. And I invited her over. I did a shake and share, I remember, and just invited people that I knew in the neighborhood to come over and try Shakeology. And I invited her, and I remember her coming over, but I remember she just wasn't very much a fan of using supplements and things like that. So she didn't join me, and I found out later on that she unfollowed me on Facebook because she didn't want to see my post. So, but 2 years later, she decided, okay, this, I'm interested in this. And I remember still when I got a message from her, and she's like, I think I'm interested in Beachbody coaching. I would like to talk to you about this. And I turned to my husband, and I remember being like, you will never guess who just sent me a message and is interested in Beachbody coaching. And he's like, who? And I'm like, Robyn. And he's like, she would do awesome if she decides to do it. But anyway, so walked over to her house, and we had a conversation, and I was pretty blunt with her and telling her that, it's great that you believe in health and fitness and that you believe in these programs, but if you don't believe in Shakeology, you're just not going to make a good coach. And, I feel like you need to give it a fair shot. And so she did. And the cool thing about this is that she has really run with it, and she's changed so many lives. And there's so many people that I see have jumped on board because they have connected with Robyn. And so, she really has done a phenomenal job in this business. And so she's a 2-star diamond, 3-star qualifying coach. She was one of the 12 coaches on our entire team who qualified for the new leadership conference that was held just this last weekend. And so she is, one of the top up-and-coming leaders here, leading a very strong team. And so I'm honored that she would take this opportunity to speak to the entire team. One of the things that I've seen her embrace this last year is embracing failure and leaning into it. And I see that that's kind of a key characteristic that holds up maybe some of my new coaches and people who are almost seeing success but not quite seeing that full potential of what they're capable of. So I asked Robyn if she'd be willing to kind of share what she's learned in the last 2 years about failure. So Robyn, with that nice little backstory and introduction, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you. Did I do that right?
Okay, this is my first time doing an Insta presenter thing, so I'm really nervous. My heart is like pounding, which is funny because I've been doing my own team calls for a long time, but just being on this one, I'm like, oh, it's like Brigida. She's so good. However, I am willing to embrace this experience, even if it flops, because I have learned the value of failing, like she said. And I don't really know where I'm supposed to look. Do I look right into my camera? I feel like I'm looking. Anyway, so I had some photos, some quotes that I sent to Brigida that I wanted to have show up, and I don't know. Oh, I have control over that. Woohoo! Yay! This quote, I'm sure a lot of you have seen before. It talks about a seed. It says, for a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. For someone who doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction. I'm supposed to say destruction, that's funny. And as I thought about this call and I thought about my past and my experiences, I thought that's really what happens when we choose, when we make that choice to change. And I think everyone that's ever bought a challenge pack or come into coaching, you push that pay button with the intent, the thought, with the idea that something in your life needed to change, going to change, something needed to change. And so, as I thought about this is the quote that I thought about, that we were all that seed. We pushed the button and it cracked our shell a little bit, and it's a little bit scary. But the more you embrace these new experiences, the more that you grow. And I know that sounds basic, but if you really think of the analogy of it and the analogy of your journey through coaching and being a business owner, for many of us, we've never been a business owner. This is a totally new realm of everything. So I wanted to take you back a little bit in my life. I had a great childhood, great parents. My mom's a coach on my team. She's on this call. She can verify. But I was afraid, not afraid even, I wasn't willing to embrace failure for a long time. I have a vivid image in my mind when I think about this. In 9th grade, I really, really, really wanted to try out for volleyball. I loved volleyball. I sucked playing volleyball, but I loved it. And I thought, well, if I get on a team, I'll learn, right? Well, I knew volleyball tryouts were that day, and I went down to where the volleyball courts where tryouts were, and I stood there in front of the doors. And I remember there were wooden doors, and I could see the light down the center, and I just stood there. And I stood there for a long time. And I thought about everything. You can imagine my 9th grade-year-old mind going through, oh, these girls are going to make fun of me. Like, most of the people on the volleyball team were really well known in this school, had tons of friends. I mean, I had my few friends, but anyway, I was comparing myself to them, and ultimately, I walked away. I never went in. I never did it. And the next year, I wanted to try out for the choir. Our school had kind of a really big choir, and it was actually kind of a cool thing. Some choirs aren't very cool, but this one was cool. Anyway, and I wanted to try out, and you had to like sing in front of people, and that was scary, right? But the difference this time, as I went to sign my name up on the board, the choir director, who was very well known, came up to me and he said, "You're so-and-so's sister." My sisters had also been in the choir and done really well, and apparently they were a good influence, but he said, "You're so-and-so's sister. I was really hoping that you would be trying out. I'm excited to have this experience with you this year." And I was like, wow, he believes in me already, and he doesn't even really know me. And he's like, "Here's the sign-up sheet," showed me where to sign up, and like, he just kind of led me there. And I share that experience because ever since that time, I've started recognizing when leaders are telling me that they believe in me. That in college, I had professors say, "You're a natural leader. You really need to apply for this," or "You are a natural at this. I really think you should go here." And I would just think, why are they telling me that? Those are scary things. But they were recognizing in me something that I didn't want to recognize in myself because it was scary. To take on leadership roles or to lead other people means you're going to take on responsibility. And that's scary because then we're worried that we're going to fail other people besides ourselves. And that's where in Beachbody, this fear of failure really stems from. We can handle the failure by ourselves a little bit, but when we think about letting down other people, that's where it really gets scary. And that's why it's so awesome to be on this team, because Brigitte is a master at empowering people. That comes through personal development, that comes through being brave. But I want you to know that even if you've not been willing to embrace failure up to this point, that it's never too late. It is never too late to try again, to move forward again. Even if you say you were a diamond, you dropped. Say you're an emerald, you dropped. Say maybe you quit coaching and you came back. It's never too late to try again. I was in another MLM for quite a few years and actually put a lot of effort and stuff into it. And it just, when I look back at that, I just never really had a belief in the business model and in the company, even though I really liked the products. And so that, anyway, I viewed that, I was afraid of my past when I thought about coaching with Beachbody. I loved my health and fitness journey and I loved everything. But I was just like, oh, do I want to jump into something like that again? I mean, I wasn't being fair to myself because I hadn't looked into Beachbody and really learned how it was different, and the MLMs were all different. And so that's why I had Brigitte come to my house. I'm like, you have to come to my house and tell me about this. But it's never too late. And I want to share another story. I'm kind of a storyteller. My team knows this. And I use a lot of analogies, but that's the way I think and learn. But the other day, we're finishing our basement, and I was helping my husband sheetrock. And I don't know how much any of you guys know about sheetrocking, but to do the ceiling, it's really hard. You can imagine sheetrock is really heavy, and you need two people to kind of position it, and then one person kind of has to hurry and hold it, or they have these machines, you know, that hold it up for the really high ceilings. But when you're in just one room, usually it's two people, and you're lifting it up and holding it there while one person hurry and puts some screws in to hold it in place. The hard thing is that it's heavy, and I was down there with my husband, and I was trying to hold it up and feeling a little bit inadequate, and I put it up, and it needed to be flush with the other piece that we had put up, right? So there's not this big gap in our ceiling. So I'm pushing it as hard as I can, but it's a little bit unbalanced, and he puts in the first few screws, and I'm like, well, there's a little bit of a gap here, but I guess it's too late. And he goes, oh no, it's never too late. It's never too late to try again and do it right. And I was like, wow, okay. So we unscrewed the whole thing. I mean, this was like a 15-minute process. We unscrewed the whole thing. We put it back up and got it flush, and he did it again. And then I've thought about that so much. This was like a month ago when we did this, but it came to my mind when I was thinking about people that think they have failed at something, or maybe you've lost, you know, a challenger says this group wasn't good for me, or maybe, you know, you dropped your rank or whatever. It's never too late to get it back. It's never too late to unscrew it again and try again. Now you've learned a few things. You've got these mentors. Do it again. It is never too late to start over. And that is something that that thought process, that thought pattern has pushed me through a lot of things. I've learned that, well, let's talk about inviting with Beachbody, because I think that the fear of failure comes in a lot when that fear of inviting is also that fear of being responsible for someone's success, which we've learned really isn't our responsibility, it's theirs, but we're thinking about inviting them to this challenge group. What if our challenge group isn't very fun? What if my leadership isn't very good? What if, but it goes back to my story about the choir director that instilled that belief in me. You guys, when you're inviting somebody to your challenge group, you're letting them know that you think they can succeed. If you don't invite, I can't tell you how many people, it's not a ton, but how many people I have invited and they come back with, I've been wondering how to get into one of your groups. And I'm sitting here face palm, like, are you kidding me? And I can't believe how much that happens to where they'll be in their journey too, and they're like, you just keep believing in me. Your belief in me is helping me move on. It's helping me to keep going. Realizing that you're giving them that same message. It's not too late. You might be 45. You might be 57. It doesn't matter. You can always start again today. Today is new. Whatever didn't go right yesterday is over. You went to bed. Today is a new day. It's never too late to start again. It's never too late to go back and invite somebody again. You guys, when I was a new coach, I probably, hopefully, like some of you, I threw up on people with information. I wanted to be full of integrity and not hold back anything, right? And so I would tell, when they say, well, what's your group about? I told them everything. And as we know from experience, and if you don't know, if you're a brand new coach, that's not the wisest move to go, because we're giving them so much information that they didn't ask for. But and then when I talked to Brigida and I said, all these people aren't messaging me back, nobody wants to do it, and she, being a good mentor, she's like, well, tell me what your process is. What are you saying to them? And through this conversation, she basically said, you're not doing it right. You need to go back and try again. And I was like, oh my gosh, I invited like 50 people. Does that mean that's 50 people that now I ruined it? I failed. Like, now they're never going to do Beachbody because I didn't invite right, and now they're lost forever. And I had to be willing to be humble and to fail a little bit and admit my failure, which I've learned is relatable. I had to admit I wasn't perfect. I went back to a lot of those people and I said, I'm sorry. I just reread the message I sent you and realized you didn't ask for the bulk of that information. And I was nervous, and I just sent you everything I could think of because I'm so dang excited for this coaching journey. And can we just start over? And a lot of them said, yeah, sure, I actually didn't even read the whole message because it was so long. So here I was worried, like, that they weren't responding because they hated me, or I don't know. But they were appreciative that I went back and was willing to make that connection with them and start over. And that's where my Success Club finally locked in. And I learned from every month then on out that those people that said no, or those people that weren't ready, it's okay to go back to them. In fact, many of you maybe even had this experience where you go back and talk to somebody and they're like, what's a challenge pack? When you can scroll up in your messages and see that you totally told them about a challenge pack. But it just goes to show that when they weren't ready, they really didn't internalize that information, and you're not bugging them by telling them again. They didn't internalize it the first time. They weren't ready. So when they ask you again, it's totally okay to kind of just start at square one and go back through the process. You guys, I've also done that with my challenge groups. If I have a group, and I've had them, where no one participates, it's a flocked group, and I can kind of trace it back to a few things, but I'm like, oh, this group just didn't go very well. What do I do? It's over, everybody, this group sucks, I'm leaving? No way. Like, I just message people, I'm like, look, this group, for whatever reason, I realize a lot of people are busy, always giving people the benefit of the doubt, and I just say, I I want to start another one. I think I want to try something new. Are you willing to do that with me? Enlist your challengers in your failure, because I have learned that those challengers have great ideas, and enlisting them in feedback and opinions and helping me create a better challenge group helps them have a better experience. You're enlisting them in the leadership of the group. So not only are they going to take more accountability for their results, but they are also going to help you take an accountability for that group being active and awesome. I just did a new challenge group this month. I tried a new thing where I just did a banner at the top with points instead of doing a daily post with an assignment, which I think is still valuable and great, but I was worried about it. This is where it comes into this webinar. I was worried. I was like, this is going to be new. A lot of these challengers are repeat. Are they going to even know? But then my brain said, no, this is a great opportunity. A lot of these are repeat challengers. That means they trust you. Let's utilize this. So I told them all from the beginning, I said, this is brand new. This is a new format. I have never done this before. I would love your consistent feedback. If you think there's a better way to do the spreadsheet system, if you think there's a better way to do the points, please let me know. You guys, I'm learning people love to share their opinions. They love to share their opinions. And so anytime I follow up with my challengers, I ask them, what's your feedback on this group? What do you like? Did you like my banner? Did you think that was useful? And this last group has been the most empowering, motivational group I have ever done. Like, everyone posts every day, and it's awesome. And they're openly giving feedback about my ability to lead this group and my ideas, and they're bouncing back and forth from each other, and they're not even coaches, but guess what? They're naturally coaching each other on, and they're naturally helping me, and I have just really enjoyed that. And I realized as I was preparing for this webinar, I'm like, embracing the idea that I will fail because there's no way to learn. You don't learn anything new unless you fail. And I'm realizing that the word fail or failure is 100% your own perception of what that means. For some people, failure is as simple as not getting up in the morning for their workout. Oh, I'm a failure. For other people, failure is getting to diamond and dropping it. That's failure. They failed. Like, what people think of failure is totally individual. Like, it's up to you what you think failure is. When I first became a coach, I thought a lot of things were failure that I had done wrong. Now, I see them as these learning milestones. And if I have something that goes wrong, I'm like, now why did that go wrong? What did I do wrong? Ask feedback from my challengers. Okay, what did you guys think about this? I noticed this didn't work very well. What do you guys think? Give me your feedback. I'm gathering data from these things that didn't work very well. I love this quote, failure isn't the end of the road. It's just a big red flag saying, wrong way, turn around. And I thought about this again, an analogy of say we're all on this path and a big rock is right there. Some people would say, oh, guess that's as far as we go. There's a rock. I can't, whatever. And then there's going to be those leaders, those people that have dealt with failure or obstacles before, and they say, no, there's got to be a way to get around this. Let's see. Maybe we can dig around this side. Maybe there's a tree that will get us over. Maybe, they're looking for resources. They're looking to get past this. Maybe you can climb over the rock. I don't know. Let's try it. They might fall down a couple of times, but then they learn where the good handholds are. Maybe they learn where the ground is soft, where they can scratch themselves out. Like, I'm learning so much that when we get to those points where we're like, oh, I didn't do very well, or oh, that's scary, or oh, I don't know what that person's going to think. If I just push on and do it anyway, I loved how Bonnie Ingalls said last week on the National Wake Up Call. She said, done is always better than perfect. Just do it, because then you're going to find where to fine tune. If you're afraid of doing a challenge group, just do it. Chances are you have a coach that has posts already laid out. You can try out. See how that works. Make it your own. And if it's not very good, go back to your coach and say, hey, my group didn't have very much engagement. Or ask your challengers, hey, we're not engaging very much. What can I do better? They will appreciate and relate to you so much more when you admit it's not going well, instead of just like hanging back and being like, I don't know, and let them all wonder if this is what a challenge group is like. Say no, like, like help them and enlist them to be part of it. Help them to see that, they may have gotten to this rock or this place where it says, "Oh, we can't go any further with this. Let's turn around and try again." People enjoy being part of something. They enjoy being enlisted, and that's what I've learned about failure is that it wasn't just my thing. I think about back to the volleyball, and I think if I would have walked through those doors, I think there would have been a coach that would probably have seen me, recognized my fear, put their arm around me, and helped me sign up and try out. I really doubt I would have made the team but I think that would have happened. I'm learning that more people than I think truly want others to succeed. They want your group to be good. They want you to be a good coach. If they press submit and bought that challenge pack from you, they instill belief in you that you're going to do a good job. And you instilled that belief in them by inviting them. So just work together on what you want to accomplish in your business, and stop seeing failure or something scary, something you don't do well, as such an obstacle. It's just a learning opportunity. I mean, you think of a little kid who's learning to ride their bike. As parents, we get frustrated when they throw their bike to the ground and they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to try. This is too hard. I'll never get it." What do we say? Try again. Try again. And usually we hold on to the back of their seat. They get pedaling and they'll go a few feet and we'll say, "Look, you went that much further. Look how much further you went. Now, what did you do?" They'll be like, "Well, I felt my balance." You say, "Yes, you felt your balance." "Okay, well, let's try again. Will you hold on to me again?" "Yes, I'll hold on to you again." And we help them get that much further, that much further, that much further, until all of a sudden they can ride a bike all the way down the street. And that's how it is with us. If you invite and you do a really good job with one, chances are you'll do another with another. Like, you just have to do. Failure a lot has to do with fear, and they say action cures fear, and it really does. If you're afraid of failing, you have to fail. You need to get out there and invite and get some no's and work through it. Work through that objection. Work through getting that challenge group running and having a few people not post. Like, there's no way you're going to learn to be an amazing coach or how to keep your rank or whatever if you haven't lost it before and you say, "Oh, I don't want that to happen again. I need to do this better. I need to have 6 coaches on each side before I get excited about being a diamond." And I've learned that for myself. So the diamonds on my team know that I'm like, it's not about getting the 4 coaches on each side. You need 6. Because you don't want to be scrambling as a new diamond to keep your diamond. Let's work for 6 on each side. How do I know that? Am I just so wise? Nope. It's because I scrambled to keep my rank. I learned from that, and I carry that forward with my team. And so when they have struggles, I'm like, okay, what can we learn from this? So failure, again, it's your own perception of what it means to you, but it's always a means to learning. It's always a means of having an opportunity to try again with more wisdom. You guys have probably heard that quote. Let me read my notes here really quick. One of the things that I have learned a lot is that I, like most people, I really like my comfort zone. I think I do. I perceive that I do. I like to come into my business and I sit in this office, I've got my whiteboard, and I go through my normal, routine, and it's comfortable to me. And then when I've been learning about, pushing for elite, or I'm learning about becoming a 5-star diamond coach, and I went to leadership, which was totally outside my comfort zone, to fly on an airplane to LA. You guys, the LA airport is huge. Like, I definitely was afraid of being the little blonde girl from Idaho that had to go to the help desk and be like, "Where do I go?" But how else am I going to get there? Like, you just have to embrace the idea that if you're going to take on this responsibility, if you're going to be a successful coach, you're going to need to fail. You're going to need to have those experiences so that you can take on more responsibility. I learned at the New Leadership Conference, they went way in depth about leadership. They went really in depth about the business model. They went in depth about compliance. They went in depth about all these little nitty gritties about Beachbody. And I got thinking, I'm like, why have they not talked about this in regular Coach Basics? Why don't they talk about this at Summit? And then, it dawned on me, I'm like, that's because not everybody at Summit cares about this stuff. Only the people that are willing to absorb it and to be responsible for knowing that information are the ones that are going to be leaders in Beachbody. So, I got thinking about that and how being at that conference solidified that I am willing to take on the next responsibility of leadership. And that there's going to be a lot more failure in my future of learning how to do this. Learning how to be more compliant, learning to be better about understanding the compensation plan and how to build my team for success. Ultimately, we want our challengers to go through a transformation, right? Like, we want them to see a transformation. We want our coaches to have income. I know I want that for my coaches. I want them to succeed. I want them to have their dreams come true. How can I help them do that if I don't step out first? How can I be the leader if I don't step out first? Leaders are willing to step out first and fail. So as you decided to become a coach, and those that are on this call, I doubt there's anyone that gets on these webinars that doesn't desire to grow a business, which means you desire leadership, which means you have chosen to take on the responsibility of failing first. You're going to fail first so that you can carry others through. That's just something you need to embrace. And I didn't do it well in the very beginning, but slowly, I learned about humility. I learned about going back and saying sorry and that it was okay. That those people respected me for my humility and my ability to say sorry and to move on and just keep moving on. When something went bad, we just kept moving on. We all did it together. Not to say I haven't had my personal pity parties of crying into my pillow and being frustrated about things. That's just part of life. That's just how I work through some of my failures. But to get up and try again, to get up in the morning, maybe call Brigida, I'm sure she remembers a few of those messages I sent and say, I need to talk to you today. And she's like, okay, what's going on? Hopefully I don't do it too much. But I think that as mentors and leaders, we need to be open to that with our challengers, with our coaches. If your challenger comes to you and is like, man, I'm not seeing results, we don't need to be some big scientific person and, we can say, well, I know about this. Let's find a webinar. Let's Google something to help you learn about this. Let's learn about it together because I don't know a ton about that. How empowering is that to show them the answer, show them how you get the answer, and all of a sudden they can be more involved in their transformation. It's okay if we don't know all the answers. That was one of the things I was worried about when I first became a coach. People asking me all these questions, and I would be scrambling on Google trying to find an answer and trying to be this know-it-all. I was spending so much time, and then I thought, what am I doing? I'm not trying to be some scientific guru. I have learned a lot over the years, and I can answer a lot of questions, but I have learned that it's okay to be humble and say, let's learn about this together. Why don't you Google this and I'll Google that, and let's come back together in 15 minutes and see what we learned. And it's been so empowering to see that these coaches and these challengers are learning where to find the right answers. And it really has helped me a lot because I'm realizing my why is helping people be educated and informed. It goes back to my personal story. I don't know how many have heard it, but where I didn't know what was right with eating. I thought I did. And then all of a sudden to find myself in a doctor's office getting diagnosed pre-diabetic saying you're overweight when I was eating all the food groups. I was doing P90X at the time. And I thought, what? What? I had ultimately failed. And I didn't even know why. And so my why is helping people know where to get the right information, helping people to find trusted sources of nutrition and fitness and things that work, things that are real, things that science has backed up. No fads, no special whatevers. And I have learned so much about helping empower people to find that answer by embracing failure myself. Realizing that the people I'm inviting, a lot of them, because that's my niche market, have tried other things. They were a yo-yo dieter like I was. And so I have to realize they failed before. And I have to be very relatable with them and letting them know I failed before. I totally failed. And I had to embrace the idea that every time you fail means that you're going to learn. So my last slide here says we learn from failure, not from success. And when I first saw this quote, I had to think about it at first because I thought, yeah, if we got on a bike and we could just ride it, no problems, how much did we learn from that experience? You know, if you planted a seed once, and if you're like me, you kill most plants. If you planted a seed once and it never grew, you're going to go, hey, I need to go get a book about that. And all of a sudden you're going to learn that you probably watered it too much. That's what I learned. I was drowning all my plants. When I finally decided to just water them every other day, they started to grow. I didn't know you could drown plants. Did you guys know that? But I learned that from a book. I learned ultimately from my failure, but then I succeeded after failure after failure after failure. Failure is the steps to the success. So they always say, you know, what's that quote? Success is a journey. I don't even know what it is, but success is the journey. Success is not the result. So you ask any top Beachbody coach or anybody that's advancing their business, and they'll say, oh yeah, my first group totally flopped, or oh my gosh, I totally had a coach that did this, or oh my gosh, one of my challengers said this. And in the beginning, that would have been devastating, but they learned that that was just a stepping stone. They're like, yeah, but then I learned this. But then I learned this, and here I am. You know what I mean? And so ultimately, you are learning from failure, not from being a successful coach. You know, Bonnie Engel, Melanie Mitro, Brigitte Linford, they're not going to go, yeah, being a 15-star diamond coach has taught me so much. That title just really teaches me everything. No way. They're like, where I really learned it was probably from 1 to 5 star, where they mastered how to help people get to diamond, how to fail with people. You know, it wasn't getting to 15 star. It was all the many failures and things that they embraced on the way. That was the end of my notes. And I don't know if I was supposed to take 45 minutes or not, but that is what I have for you guys. I don't know if Brigitte wants to add to it or whatnot. She says it's perfect, so I guess it's great.
I know as soon as I start talking, we'll have an echo with both of us on. Here. Okay, there we go. But Robyn, thank you so much. I appreciate all of your insights. I'm sitting here taking notes, and I think it's just this mindset shift and everything that you're doing. But I love even the things that you've done to go back and learn from your failures. And I can attest even to what she just said here at the beginning, that you have successes, you have failures, but you're pushing through the failure to success, and that's how you learn to get there. So thank you so much for being on this call, Robyn. I appreciate it so much. We'll be in the team page, so if anyone has any questions, you can tag Robyn if she is willing to take a couple seconds and answer anything. But thank you all for being on this call, and I'll put the recording up in the team page. Thanks, guys.